Andreas Münzer was a symbol of extreme conditioning taken too far. Born in Austria, he became world famous for his razor-sharp definition and near-zero body fat, maintaining a shredded look year-round. However, his obsession with perfection led to one of the most tragic ends in bodybuilding history. Münzer relied heavily on diuretics, anabolic steroids, and stimulants to sustain his granite heart appearance, which placed immense stress on his organs. In 1996, after complaining of severe stomach pain, he collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. Doctors discovered massive internal bleeding, liver failure, and organ collapse. His blood was so thick with chemicals that it couldn't properly circulate. Münzer died at only 31 years old. His death shocked the bodybuilding community, forcing many to confront the hidden dangers of excessive drug use and dehydration tactics in the sport. To this day, his passing remains a grim reminder that pushing the human body beyond its biological limits can have fatal consequences, even for the most disciplined athletes. Mike Matarazzo was one of bodybuilding's most charismatic and hardworking athletes during the 1990s, known for his massive arms, calves, and an upbeat personality that made him a fan favorite. Originally from Boston, he began his career as a boxer before shifting to bodybuilding, where he quickly rose through the amateur ranks to compete in the IFBB Mr. Olympia contests. However, behind the muscle and charm, Matarazzo's health was quietly deteriorating. His years of intense training, extreme dieting, and reliance on performance-enhancing substances eventually took a toll on his cardiovascular system. In 2004, he suffered a severe heart attack that ended his competitive career. He later underwent multiple heart surgeries, including a triple bypass, but his heart never fully recovered. By 2014, at just 48 years old, Matarazzo passed away while awaiting a heart transplant. His death underscored the growing concern about cardiovascular complications among professional bodybuilders. Despite his tragic end, many still remember him as a humble and relatable athlete who loved the sport but paid the ultimate price for its extremes. Dallas McCarver was seen as the future of bodybuilding, a young prodigy with the size, structure, and potential to dominate the Mr. Olympia stage for years. Born in 1991 in Tennessee, he turned pro at just 21 years old, an almost unheard-of achievement at that level. By his early 20s, McCarver was already competing alongside legends, weighing over 300 pounds in the offseason with a physique that seemed destined for greatness. But his rapid rise came with dangerous risks. Known for pushing food, training intensity, and performance-enhancing drugs to the limit, his body began showing signs of strain. In 2017, tragedy struck when he collapsed at home while eating, apparently choking on food. But the autopsy revealed much more. Severe heart enlargement and organ stress pointed to long-term cardiovascular damage. He was only 26 years old. The bodybuilding world was stunned. A man who appeared invincible had died before reaching his prime. McCarver's death became a turning point, igniting discussions about the escalating size race in modern bodybuilding and the hidden health costs behind those colossal physiques. Rich Piana was one of the most recognizable and controversial figures in bodybuilding. Unlike traditional competitors, Piana built his fame through transparency, admitting openly to his use of anabolic steroids and synthol, which made his physique both admired and criticized. Standing over 6 feet tall and weighing more than 300 pounds, he created a social media empire through raw honesty, lifestyle vlogs, and his brand, 5% Nutrition, which symbolized the few who do whatever it takes to reach their goals. But the very intensity that fueled his success also contributed to his downfall. In August 2017, Piana collapsed at home while getting a haircut, suffering a medical emergency that left him in a coma for over 2 weeks before passing away at 46. The autopsy cited heart enlargement and fatty liver, conditions often linked to prolonged steroid and supplement abuse. His death was a wake-up call to the entire fitness community, highlighting the thin line between dedication and destruction. Despite his tragic end, Piana's openness about his choices left a lasting mark on bodybuilding culture, forcing it to confront the realities hidden behind the muscle. Nasser El Sonbaty was one of the most intelligent and articulate bodybuilders the sport had ever seen. Nicknamed the Professor for his philosophical demeanor and education in political science, he combined mass and aesthetics in a way few others could. Competing during bodybuilding's golden 1990s alongside legends like Dorian Yates and Flex Wheeler, Nasser consistently placed among the top contenders at Mr. Olympia, even finishing second in 1997 in what many fans still consider a controversial loss. Despite his calm, scholarly personality, his approach to bodybuilding was extreme. Years of heavy drug cycles, high food intake, and physical strain gradually destroyed his his health. After retiring, he suffered from chronic infections, vision problems, and kidney and liver failure. In 2013, while living in Egypt, he died suddenly at the age of 47. The autopsy later revealed severe organ damage and heart complications. Nasser's death was particularly tragic because of his awareness. He had often warned others about the dangers of drug abuse in bodybuilding. His passing symbolized the cruel irony of a man who understood the risks better than most, yet couldn't escape them. Luke Sandoe was widely regarded as one of Britain's most promising modern bodybuilders, with an impressive combination of size, symmetry, and charisma that set him apart. After earning his pro card, he quickly rose in the IFBB ranks, placing third at the 2019 Arnold Classic, an event that marked him as a future Mr. Olympia contender. Sandoe's physique was celebrated for its balance and classic lines, a throwback to the aesthetics of the 1990s era. However, behind the success, he struggled with mental health issues that few in the bodybuilding community were aware of. Balancing personal stress, pressure to maintain extreme conditioning, and possible chemical imbalances from performance-enhancing substances took a devastating toll. In May 2020, at just 30 years old, Sandoe was found dead at his home in England. The cause of death was never publicly confirmed, though reports pointed to suicide. His passing exposed the silent mental health crisis within professional bodybuilding, where outward perfection often hides inner turmoil. Luke's death shocked fans and competitors alike, serving as a painful reminder that the mental demands of the sport can be just as dangerous as the physical ones. Shawn Rhoden's story is one of triumph, followed by heartbreak. Born in Jamaica and later moving to the United States, he overcame poverty, injuries, and personal struggles to achieve the ultimate dream, winning the 2018 Mr. Olympia at age 43, the oldest champion in history. His victory over seven-time champion Phil Heath was seen as a refreshing moment for bodybuilding, showcasing aesthetics and proportion over sheer size. But just 1 year later, Rhoden's life took a dark turn. In 2019, he was accused of sexual assault, leading the IFBB to ban him from competing until the legal case was resolved. Though he maintained his innocence, the stress and isolation from the controversy weighed heavily on him. Financial troubles, public scrutiny, and health decline followed. On November 6, 2021, Rhoden died suddenly of a heart attack at only 46 years old. The bodybuilding world was stunned. A man who had reached the pinnacle of success had fallen in the most tragic way. His death raised questions about the pressures of fame, the toll of stress on athletes, and the fragile balance between glory and destruction. Flex Wheeler was once described by Arnold Schwarzenegger as one of the most naturally gifted bodybuilders in history. His physique in the 1990s defined the word perfection: balanced, aesthetic, and impossibly detailed. Wheeler won multiple Arnold Classic titles and was a consistent Mr. Olympia contender, finishing runner-up to legends like Dorian Yates and Ronnie Coleman. However, behind the glamorous stage presence, his life was marred by immense personal and health struggles. Wheeler battled kidney disease throughout much of his career, which was later revealed to have been worsened by years of dehydration, drug use, and extreme dieting. In 2003, he underwent a kidney transplant that ended his competitive career. Years later, complications returned, leading to partial leg amputation in 2019 after life-threatening circulatory issues. Despite these devastating setbacks, Wheeler has remained public about his struggles, using his platform to advocate for mental resilience and health awareness. While his career ended in tragedy, his courage and honesty afterward redefined his legacy, transforming him from a fallen champion into a symbol of survival in a sport known for its unforgiving extremes. Tom Prince was one of the most promising American bodybuilders of the late 1990s, admired for his dense muscularity and intelligent approach to training. He earned his IFBB Pro card after winning the 1997 NPC Nationals, a title that cemented his potential to become a major force in professional bodybuilding. Known for his powerful legs and well-balanced proportions, Prince competed against the biggest names of his era, including Ronnie Coleman and Kevin Levrone. However, his career was tragically cut short by severe health problems. Years of extreme dieting, dehydration, and performance-enhancing drug use led to kidney failure, forcing him to retire at just 32 years old. He spent much of his later life undergoing dialysis and eventually required a kidney transplant. Despite his attempts to rebuild a life outside bodybuilding, his health continued to deteriorate, and in February 2022, he passed away at 52. Prince's story represents the hidden costs of chasing physical perfection, proof that even the most disciplined and educated athletes are not immune to the long-term consequences of the sport's most dangerous practices. Greg Kovacs was a Canadian bodybuilder who became famous in the late 1990s for being one of the largest human beings ever to step on stage. Standing 6 feet 4 inches and weighing over 400 pounds in the off-season, He was often described as a walking mountain of muscle. His sheer mass drew massive attention, but it also came with serious drawbacks. Kovacs struggled with proportion and aesthetics, making it difficult for him to place well in competitions despite his incredible size. Behind the scenes, the strain of maintaining such a body took a devastating toll on his health. Years of pushing food intake, anabolic steroids, insulin, and growth hormones created irreversible cardiovascular problems. After retiring from competition, he tried his hand at coaching and business, but continued to suffer from health complications. In 2013, at just 44 years old, Kovacs died of heart failure at his home in Canada. His death became symbolic of bodybuilding's mass monster era, where the pursuit of size above all else left a legacy of short-lived careers and shattered lives. Cedric McMillan was often hailed as the modern embodiment of classic bodybuilding, a man whose physique brought back the symmetry, flow, and aesthetic balance of the golden era. Standing over 6 feet tall with a sculpted yet graceful frame, he won the 2017 Arnold Classic and became a fan favorite for his humor, humility, and deep respect for bodybuilding's roots. However, Cedric's path was troubled by recurring health issues that stemmed from the extreme lifestyle required to stay stage-ready. As an active-duty U.S. Army Staff Sergeant, he juggled military obligations with professional bodybuilding, often pushing his body far beyond safe limits. Over the years, he suffered from multiple health scares, including heart problems and respiratory complications. Despite several warnings and hospitalizations, he kept training, determined to return to competition. In April 2022, Cedric McMillan passed away at just 44 years old after suffering a heart attack while training. His death devastated the bodybuilding community, not only because he was loved, but because it represented the loss of one of the last true aesthetic champions in an era dominated by size and extremity. George Peterson, known as Da Bull, was one of the most respected and admired modern-era bodybuilders, celebrated for his dense muscle, flawless conditioning, and calm professionalism. Starting in the classic physique division, Peterson was praised for his symmetry and detail before moving up to the 212 class, where he proved equally dominant. His rise seemed unstoppable. He placed third at the 2019 Mr. Olympia and was expected to contend for the title in the years ahead. But behind the scenes, the relentless physical and chemical demands of elite competition were quietly eroding his health. In October 2021, just 2 days before competing at that year's Olympia, Peterson was found dead in his hotel room. The autopsy revealed fluid buildup in his lungs and heart, suggesting a fatal cardiac event likely linked to dehydration and performance-enhancing substances. He was only 37 years old. His death shocked the bodybuilding world because of how sudden and senseless it felt. George was known for discipline, professionalism, and positivity. His passing served as a stark reminder that even the most responsible athletes are vulnerable to the extreme physical tolls of modern bodybuilding. Mohamed Benaziza was one of the first true mass-with-class bodybuilders, admired for his compact, granite-hard physique and razor-sharp conditioning. Born in Algeria, he made his mark in the late 1980s and early 1990s by winning the 1990 Night of Champions and placing among the top contenders at the Mr. Olympia. Known for his intense training and extreme dedication, Benaziza became famous for his incredibly dry, striated look, achieved through aggressive dehydration and diuretic use. However, these very methods led to his tragic downfall. In 1992, after competing in the Dutch Grand Prix, he began feeling weak and short of breath. Despite warnings from fellow competitors, he refused medical attention, fearing it might affect his career. Hours later, he was found dead in his hotel room at just 33 years old. The cause was acute dehydration and heart failure. His death sent shockwaves through the bodybuilding world, prompting new rules and greater scrutiny of diuretic use before competitions. Benaziza's story remains one of the earliest and most haunting examples of how chasing ultimate definition can cost an athlete their life. Bertil Fox was one of the most powerful and feared competitors of the 1980s, earning the nickname Brutal Bertil for his monstrous strength and intense training style. Born in St. Kitts and raised in the UK, Fox built a physique that was dense, thick, and explosively muscular, traits that made him a fan favorite and consistent top placer in major contests, including Mr. Olympia and the Night of Champions. However, his promising bodybuilding career ended not because of health issues, but because of a tragic and violent turn. In 1997, while living in his native St. Kitts, Fox was arrested and charged with the double murder of his former fiancée and her mother. He was initially sentenced to death by hanging, a shocking outcome for a man once celebrated on magazine covers. Years later, his sentence was commuted to life imprisonment. To this day, he remains behind bars, maintaining his innocence. Fox's downfall is one of the darkest stories in bodybuilding history, transforming a world-class athlete into a symbol of how fame, anger, and impulsive decisions can destroy everything in an instant. Art Atwood was a late bloomer in professional bodybuilding who exploded onto the IFBB scene in the early 2000s. Standing over 6 feet tall and and weighing close to 290 pounds on stage. He was known for his incredible mass and round muscle bellies. His rapid rise earned him attention, but it also came with criticism. Many believed he pushed his body too far, too fast. After competing in several major shows, including the Mr. Olympia, Atwood began to experience serious health complications that forced him to step away from the sport. Outside competition, he transitioned into coaching and personal training, but remained heavily involved in the bodybuilding lifestyle. In September 2011, tragedy struck when Atwood was found dead in his home at just 37 years old after reportedly suffering a heart attack while in the pool. His sudden passing added to the growing list of athletes who paid the price for the extreme demands of professional bodybuilding. Despite his brief career, Art Atwood is remembered as a cautionary tale about the dangers of rapid mass building and the toll that enhancement drugs can take on the heart. Luke Wood was one of Australia's most accomplished bodybuilders, known for his thick, rugged physique and relentless work ethic. Competing in the early 2000s, he became a pioneer for Australian athletes on the global bodybuilding stage, eventually earning his IFBB Pro card and standing alongside some of the biggest names in the sport. His career showed immense promise, but it was tragically cut short due to severe health complications. After years of pushing his body to the limit through extreme bulking, dehydration, and drug use, Wood developed kidney failure, a condition that forced him into early retirement. In 2007, he underwent a kidney transplant, but his health never fully recovered. Just 2 years later, in 2009, Luke Wood passed away at only 35 years old from complications related to the transplant. His death devastated the Australian bodybuilding community and served as a painful reminder that even elite athletes are not invincible. Luke's story remains one of determination overshadowed by tragedy, a powerful example of how the pursuit of size and perfection can come at the highest possible cost.